Well, meanwhile, the investigation into the horrible death of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi continues. The president says he wants to wait until the investigation is complete before deciding on a course of action regarding the Saudis. And he expects to consult with Congress about this, possibly as soon as Monday.
People are not happy about what happened. We've had great relationships with them. This is a horrible event. It has not gone unnoticed. Okay?
Has his response been enough so far? Lawrence Jones is editor-in-chief of campusreform.org. Jason Nichols, liberal commentator and professor. So, Jason, let me start with you. I mean, this is an apparently brutal, barbaric, cold-blooded murder. It's an affront to our values and what this country stands for. So what would you like to see from the president? Do you think his response so far has been appropriate or has it been enough?
I don't think it's been enough. I think that the president needs to take a really firm stance. First of all, we have to stop talking about the Saudis as if they are our allies. They were complicit in 9/11. We know that they have committed human rights atrocities in Yemen. They're not our allies, and we need to understand what's happening here. You know, also, this is something that seems like it's coming from the top. General al-Asidi, is someone who was involved in what was going on in Yemen, and it seems that he was also involved in Mr. Khashoggi's death. This idea that it's a fist fight, it was really just an assault on our intelligence.
So what would you like to see the president do? I mean, as he says, and not jeopardize the billions of dollars in arms sales.
I think, you know, there are certain things that are more important than money, and I think that he needs to send a clear message to the world that the United States will not tolerate people killing our journalists.
So should we do the same thing for China then as
Lawrence,
well? So Eric, should we do this with China as well as all the other countries that are barbaric as well? Look, I'm not trying to get into war with other countries.
When they kill American permanent residents, yes.
Well, he's not American, but
he's an American permanent resident.
But he's not American.
He worked for an American journalist.
Eric,
but Lawrence, he's a resident of Virginia. He's a columnist for the Washington Post.
I'm not disagreeing that it was barbaric, but I'm not trying to get into these conflicts like many of Americans aren't with other countries over stuff that we knew that they were capable of doing.
But no one's calling for war.
And the thing is this, Eric. Where do we draw the line? Do we start doing this with every relationship, with every barbaric country that we have relationships currently with? Because then we're going to be reevaluating China. Are we willing to put the money aside with China as well? No one really has the answers to this. I think it was absurd that we were just waiting for their investigation because we know what they were capable of doing. It's pretty much known that they did this. But at the end of the day, the president is going to have to make the decision.
And what do you think that should be? Should there be sanctions, for example? Should they cancel some of these deals? Should we recall our ambassadors? And should we expel Saudi diplomatic personnel from our country?
No, because that's not. Well, look, I don't think that's going to lead to more peace. I think some sanctions, yes, that may be necessary. But the notion that we should pull out of all this goodwill that we've built up with Saudi Arabia over this one issue, I think we have larger problems right now.
Well, there certainly are larger problems. But, Jason, I mean, I just gave you the list. Do you think that the president and Congress should eventually enact and actually go forward with the Majeski Act and actually do some of the things that I just threw out?
Absolutely. Number one, Lawrence needs to understand he's someone who travels. I travel. If Mr. Khashoggi is not safe, none of us are safe. And if they're going to be killing journalists, they could get to each and every one of us because we've written or said something that they don't like. And as you said, he's a resident of Virginia. He was not a citizen, but he certainly was a member of our community here in our nation. And I think that absolutely the strongest terms in terms of sanctions and certainly not doing business with countries that commit atrocities in their region, and particularly in a region like the Middle East. So I absolutely think we must.
Eric, that's my point. Let's stop doing business with them all then. If that's the standard, if countries being barbaric is our standard, then the dollar amount shouldn't matter with all of them then. But that's not the case. So if we already had a standard that American interests must take priority, then I'm saying maybe some sanctions, but the idea that we're going to blow up all the goodwill that we've built with Saudi Arabia over this one incident, I think is absurd. And it's not going to happen.
And one more point. Goodwill after 9/11, that's goodwill?
Yeah, let me raise one more point, just very briefly. briefly, Lawrence and then Jason. Remember back in 1980, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. Jimmy Carter boycotted the election. I mean, the Olympics. Do you think, in your view, that whatever moral high ground we take, Lawrence, that would really work with the Saudis?
No. No, I don't think it's going to work with the Saudis. What's going to end up happening is that it's going to hurt our relationship with the Saudis. They're going to end up buying weapons from other countries as well, and then we're going to be in a bigger pickle. So I want peace in the Middle East. I'm not saying what happened was right, but again, we got to think of the larger issues that we're facing in this country, and I think that's what the president is saying.
Jason?
Nobody is condoning what they did.
The Saudis hurt our relationship with the Saudis when they killed a journalist from the Washington Post, a respected American, person who worked for an American company. And I also think that they have to be held responsible when they do these sorts of things. Money is not everything in these circumstances, and it will hurt us in the long run if we continue to prop up regimes that actually hurt people in their own region.
All right, Jason and Lawrence, that is the debate and the question as we wait for the president and Congress to see what action they may take. Thank you both.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. And